Hello and welcome to Dojo Live this Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. My name is Kim Lantis and it's my pleasure to be hosting today. And I would like to welcome our guest, Stephanie Trussell, who's COO of Affixify. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us on Dojo Live today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited.
Yes, I'm excited too. It's going to be a very, very fun conversation because we're going to be diving in to how to reduce friction in purchasing technology, specifically for hotels. You know, it's my understanding that hoteliers are facing an overwhelming number of technology options, which makes it difficult for them to identify the right solutions for their specific needs, or even maybe I have this need, does a solution exist, right?
Yeah, that's so true.
Or, oh, I didn't realize I had this need. There's a solution.
Or there's a solution and now I have a need.
Yeah, that happens to me when I walk into the shoe store. But before we dive into your technology that's helping others find their technology, I would love to know your story, Stephanie. What is your passion and what's kind of led up to the co-founding of Affixify?
Yeah, for sure. So I started in hospitality late 2000s. Jasmine and I worked together at a previous marketing company. We did email marketing for hotels whenever email marketing was the first new thing, before texting, before any of it. We sold that company in 2018 and kind of remained, of course, friends, but went our separate ways in our careers. She became a consultant. I moved into a lot of different startups, different spaces. And, you know, she as a consultant saw the need for a company like Affixify. I have a passion for product development, for a user experience, customer relationships, operations, processes, people. And I know that especially the people part is what hospitality is all about. So I was thrilled to be able to join her and come back to hospitality. Before high tech, I quit my full-time job. I'm at Affixify full-time now. Yep. It's been quite an adventure, but it's so heartwarming and so nice to be back with the people. I just like making the connections on LinkedIn and seeing everybody that we used to work with, the hoteliers, the vendors alike. And I just really feel so grateful to be able to be in this position with her and to be able to launch Affixify and bring it to market.
Awesome. Well, first of all, congratulations on a variety of fronts for taking the leap, for co-founding. And it sounds like definitely a match made in heaven between you and Jasmine. I love it. So we're going to deep dive, I think, into the problem that Affixify is solving. But at the highest level, who are you and what is it that you're doing?
Sure. So Affixify was born to address the problem of finding technology. So we know that there's endless options out there. There's tech that's been around for a really long time, that's been upgraded, reimagined. There's new tech to the industry. And we were hearing from hoteliers, even back in our days at our previous company, like, hey, I'm looking for a new PMS. What do you recommend? I've never worked in a PMS. So I'm like, well, these people are nice. Like my experience of being able to recommend a software was very limited when I didn't have direct hands-on experience in that software. That, felt a little strange to me to be able to say with confidence who I was recommending. So that's where Affixify was founded, is the idea that there needs to be a platform that helps hoteliers find software. With Affixify, a hotelier can go in and say, I'm looking for this type of software, and they're served up hundreds of features. They're already thought out for them. They don't have to come up with the requirements themselves. We've done the demos. We've watched the systems in action to make sure those features exist. And the goal here is that a hotelier can choose what they need for their specific hotel, which I know we'll get into kind of like, well, how do I even do that? But that's going to be the premise. And then from there, the hotelier is able to get matched to vendors using an algorithm. It's all algorithm based. So whenever it comes to the features I selected and the vendor that does that particular functionality, the algorithm will do it on a percentage based on that match. And the hotelier from there can choose who they want to interact with.
Nice. So there's a level of impartiality there.
That's the goal. Yeah, definitely.
It's like Affixify is DojoLive, but in a software. That's our goal, to give a platform for all the cool technologies that exist out there to give their voice. I love it. So you mentioned a few minutes ago this number. You said endless, right, in terms of technology. But I'd like to kind of talk numbers. When it comes for existing technologies for hotels in particular, just how much tech are we talking about? And I guess what does that mean in terms of time and maybe mental overwhelm for those who are trying to do the purchasing?
Yeah, for sure. So from what I've read in various articles as we were kind of bringing Affixify to market and knowing what we were getting ourselves into, so to speak, a hotel needs 10 to 50 vendors and systems to run efficiently. That's a huge gap, 10 to 50. So where do I fall? Where do I fall? Do I need the 10? Do I need the 50, right? So I think that's one piece of like being able to uncover who I am as a hotelier. But alone, there's at least 40 to 50 property management systems. How do we know which property management system is a fit for us? Multiply that times the amount of systems we need. We literally are talking hundreds and hundreds. And then there's also this aspect of the new technology. There's platforms like Attractions.io who has a mobile map for your high-end resort so your guests can see everything that's available. If you're handing out a paper map, they're probably a really good fit for you. How do you know that that technology exists? Other than scouring the internet and spending hours and hours or asking your friends or reading reviews, but then you're already fatigued. So it's really hard to be able to navigate this landscape. And I think one thing that's so great about hospitality in general is the people that come together to make recommendations, to network, to be able to offer advice. But at the same time, all of our hotels are unique, every single one of us. So I think that's where it gets a little bit overwhelming. We did a survey to hoteliers and they said that they spend up to 10 hours even thinking about what they need. That's before they go explore. So I've already spent 10 hours. I've already talked to my team. I'm really overwhelmed. I don't know which one is a good fit for me. Do I give up? What do I do now? So I think that's where we really wanted to come in and help.
Absolutely, because I mean, obviously giving up is not an option. You have to find a solution, even though you'd rather just go in the corner and cry.
Yeah, definitely go in the corner and cry.
You could do that for a little bit, but then you gotta
get up. Come on.
I love it. So, you talked about, I like this word explore, and actually leans into this analogy sort of that I wanted to talk about. And that's like, even with, I guess, cool software like Affixify to help hoteliers see the forest from the trees. I'm curious as what's the best way to start. So you mentioned there's this I have a need, and there's also the opposite side of that coin, or opposite end of the stick, if you want to stick to forest metaphor here, of oh wow, this exists and I didn't even know that I needed it. Like, for example, the map. So how can I as a hotelier identify what I really need, what I don't need? I mean, meaning, how can we best determine what's first, the first 10, let's say, that I definitely need amongst those potential 50, and not even just talking about the specific company or the brand, but like, let's start at the PMS. Let's start here. Let's start there. Is there an order of operations that you've kind of discovered that works best?
Oh, I think this is up for debate. I think everybody has a methodology that they think that works best. And there's a ton of consultants in our space that have mastered this process. I think the biggest piece that, in my opinion, a hotelier can do, first, identify your challenges. What are the struggles you're having day to day? Is your guest being impacted in some way by outdated technology, by systems that don't talk to each other? Being able to identify where you're lacking, and that you do have to lean on your friends for. You have to know what others are doing to really elevate their guest experience to identify what your gaps are. Talk to your team, though. Your team knows. Those that are manning this desk, those that are interacting with these systems every day, they will easily be able to tell you their challenges. They, of course, will also tell you the things that they can't risk losing, what makes their job so nice and easy and efficient and helpful, but they're also experiencing something. So I think that's also a really great place to start. And then I think the other thing is identify your brand. We saw Jackie Brown posted this thing the other day about best in class, world class, right? Like, we're all using these terms, but who are you really? What are you providing? What amenities do you have to offer? How big is your hotel? Like, what do you have as your identity? And if you mix those things together, I think it gives you a better lay of the land so that when you're approaching this and you're going out into market and you're saying, I need a PMS or I need this thing, you're able to answer those questions, because that is what the vendors need to know. They need to know who you are, who you identify as within your hotel, what your challenges are, and what you're trying to solve. We hear from vendors so often, I want to know, why are they leaving their current vendor? And sometimes you don't even have to leave. You just need an upgrade. You just need a new integration. You need something. So I think giving your current vendors a fair shot, as well as, of course, looking elsewhere if you feel like that's the thing that you need to do. But first, you have to know what you're even being faced with.
And then so that's like the process of laying out that sort of checklist, I think, that you referred to earlier, and maybe even breaking that down in a couple different
areas,
sections, like your must-haves, your
oh my gosh,
nice-to-haves, and not worried about
it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Putting on my product development brain whenever I would work with developers, and still even with our developers for Affixify, I mean, even talking to them there last night, they're like, is that a must-have? And I'm like, yes. It makes you really question, am I going to die on that sword? Is that something I absolutely have to have, right? And anybody that's going through any kind of product development or due diligence process, which is what we've kind of been deemed as, those are things you need to understand about yourself. Because if you ask your team, what would you like? They're going to give you unicorns and rainbows. They're going to ask for everything, right? So it's just a matter of really being able to narrow down, does this impact my operation? Does this impact my guest? Is this something I have to have? If I bring this to my guest, am I elevating my satisfaction scores in any way? Like, is this something that's a surprise and delight? Because that's also equally important.
Absolutely. So you mentioned talking to your team and getting this ideas of what we love, what we like, what we really dislike, what's absolutely missing, and then we absolutely need. But generally speaking, within hotels, who is responsible for this kind of decision making? Have you seen if what makes sense? Like, when it's this particular area that's doing the shopping, hotels tend to have the most success. Or is there any recommendation as to who these stakeholders should be?
Yeah, so we talk to a lot of CIOs and procurement teams. That's who we're seeing as doing the shopping. It doesn't mean they're the only stakeholder, though. I think anybody in a leadership role at the hotel needs to have input, maybe not opinion, but input. They need to know what's happening, what we're considering, what direction we're thinking of going, why we're choosing to go there, what goals we're trying to achieve, and get buy-in, because that's the other piece, is if someone's going off on a limb on their own, brings in a new piece of technology, replaces your PMS, and you don't have buy-in from your team, I mean, can you imagine the catastrophe that we're talking about? So I do think while there are certain roles that have been deemed, so to speak, to have this task, I think that everyone in the hotel that either has their handprint on it or interacts with it or really rolls up to a department head should at least know what's going on, be informed, and have some level of communication. Because the worst thing that could happen is you implement new tech, your team is extremely frustrated with the new tech, and they say, well, no one asked me. Like, we hear it all the time. No one asked me. So I think you don't have to ask all 500 team members, but you do need to have an advocate maybe for each department, each function within each area of the hotel, someone that can really speak on behalf of the other team members maybe.
Absolutely. And coming back to this, nobody asked me, what are these questions? I mean, I think we're seeing two ends of this stick now. These questions that, the CIOs or the procurement teams should be asking other stakeholders within the hotel. But also, what are the questions that you see or find that they should be asking when they come onto a software like Affixify, or when they're looking at, let's just keep going with the PMS example. Like, are there these really solid first questions? Any tips on what they need to know or need to be asking?
Yeah, sure. So from the team member perspective, I think it goes back to the challenges. What are the things that you absolutely cannot give up? What are the things that you're looking to solve within your own area, within your own function? What are you hearing from your guests? If the guest is saying, I wish you had this over and over and over again, separate from a spa, of course, like, yeah, let me just go build one. No, but whenever it comes to technology, I wish you had this ease of use. Like, there was a study from Oracle how guests are really, really pushing mobile. If you don't have keyless entry, what are we doing? If you don't have some form of communication method that they can interact with on their mobile device, you should. So I think that there's this piece of what the guest is saying that we need to listen to. On the other end of the spectrum, from what they should be asking the vendors, PMS as an example, as they're exploring, what are your integrations? How well do they work? How often do I need an upgrade? How do you really maybe combine and consolidate some of my systems? If I have a separate booking engine, a separate channel manager, but a new PMS has those built in, okay, does it all work well together? That's something definitely to consider. But the other piece of it is, if I'm not willing to give up one of mine because it's amazing, how are you going to interact with it? And honestly, I need to talk to one of your customers that is similar to my hotel, that has a similar integration, a similar need. I need to pick their brain. I love you, salesperson. You're amazing. And yes, I'm totally bought in. But let me do this one last little piece to reaffirm my decision. I think that that's a key component of it, because we can read reviews, but there was a study that was saying that the information in reviews sometimes is conflicting. And then we start to second guess everything. I mean, I bought a new computer. Do you know how many reviews I read that were like, oh, it's great? And this other guy was like, oh, it's not. And I'm like, what do I do? Right? Like, we interact with this all the time. So talk to someone, find out who it is that's using their software, one of their even customer recommendations, and just pick their brain and just kind of see what their interaction is.
And I think to your point too, there comes a point where you just have to decide and be like, okay, that's it, and I'm going to stick to it.
This is what I'm going with.
And I guess, it is an investment, and there are potential fallout. But what's your advice in that? Like, to stick to your guns, maybe, and just let things, try it for a while. Like, is it? I guess my question is picking the right software really, really that big of a deal, or can we come back from this if it didn't work out?
Yeah, we can always come back from it. There's always another new software. There's always another new feature, a new upgrade. There's always something, because we're innovating. That's what we're doing. Everybody's innovating. So yes, we can come back from it. Does it hurt? Absolutely. When you've sunk a ton of time, a ton of money, your team's time, the reputation, you chose it, the team blames you. There's all of this piece that goes into it. So I think there's definitely this fear of, what if I choose the wrong one? And when the investment is done, when it's implemented, you have to give it a chance. It's going to be hard. When you're learning something new, it's going to be really tough. You're going to have to adapt maybe some of your processes around the software versus the software adapting to you. I think that's fairly normal. I think that there's this piece of it of like, just give it a shot. Lay out a 12, 18-month plan. If at 12, 18 months, your milestones are not hit, you did not achieve your goals, those markers did not happen, talk to your vendor, find out what's going on and how they can help. Maybe they have a piece in their roadmap that's going to solve your problem before you go shopping again, because that's the team fatigue too, is, oh gosh, we just did this. Change again,
just
right?
got to know it. Yeah.
Right. That's so hard, and it impacts everything else. So I always think that first, there's got to be this level of open communication. Treat your vendors as partners. That's what we do. Our vendors are called partners, because we want an open line of communication. It's a two-way street. They need to feel comfortable coming to us about leads or whatever the case is, what we're supplying to them. And we need to feel comfortable going to them about XYZ. So I definitely think building those relationships with your vendors is so, so important. In our previous day, whenever a customer would cancel, 9 times out of 10, I knew it was coming. I was rarely surprised. And I think that's the piece, is if you are that in tune with your customers and you know what's going on, you shouldn't be surprised if they do decide to go with a different piece of technology. And at that point, you would have hoped that you've done everything you can to pour into them to make it to where you've done your absolute best for them to stay.
I love it. I think that's really smart. Give it a chance. I think, even putting a time frame on it, 12 to 18 months, to just see and test, and then, have conversations, understanding that even with a really solid choice, it's going to be a potentially challenging transition, but a transition that's hopefully worth it. So let's talk about the choice piece. I'm really interested, particularly in Affixify, how it works. We're talking about hundreds of potential vendors. Let's first talk about the hotelier side. What's it going to look like when I come in to your platform and shop? And then we can talk about the vendor side as well, as what that looks like for me. But let's start at the hotelier side. What's my experience going to be like, and how does Affixify itself help with not feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah, sure. So What we tried to do is make it as simple as possible. The process itself to shop for a vendor takes minutes. We're not talking 40, we're talking 10. It's not too difficult. The buyers that we've had so far that have come in and shopped, even on the PMS level, while we do have hundreds of features available, they did not choose hundreds.
Yeah.
They chose 40, 50, 60. They got their must-haves, so to speak, that they chose as features for that match. So the first thing I would do is identify the type of software that I'm looking for. Currently, Affixify has PMS, revenue management, BI, upgrade, upsell platforms, building maintenance, building technology like HVAC controls, lighting controls, things of that nature for the guest room, a booking engine waitlist program, procurement, and we just started sales and catering. So we're getting there. The thing that we need to do now is expand the number of vendors within each of those categories, as well as, of course, expanding the categories themselves. So that's kind of our mission. That's my mission. Jasmine's mission is hotel focused, mine is partner focused. So they would choose out of those options, what type of technology are you looking to find? And that's when they're served at the catalog. And the reason the catalog is so big is because it also includes integrations. If you're searching for this waitlist booking engine program, they need to know what booking engine you're on. So that's part of the features. These are the existing integrations I have that I need. These are the features that I think are going to be really important to me. Those, when you submit, are matched with the vendors. And then you're given your results, your dashboard. What percentage was the match? What features did they match on? What features did they not match on? Oh, you don't have an integration into my booking engine? I don't know that that's going to work. I might still talk to you though. They click I'm interested. The vendor gets an email and there's a warm introduction that takes place at that point. So they know who's going to be contacting them after that vendor also mutually agrees. That way they know, okay, great, it's going to be so-and-so from this company. We've had it to where maybe those initial interactions like went a little slower and the vendor was like, hey, I'm not sure if this is a good lead for us. They haven't really responded. And we've jumped in. How you doing? How'd the process go for you? What are your thoughts? How's it going with that vendor, right? Like we want to do it different. This is about relationships. Yes, there's a technology component, but we're all people. People need relationships. So we want to help as much as we possibly can whenever it comes to the hotelier side and knowing, is this the right fit? We have a million ideas on how to make this experience amazing for the hotelier. So at this point, our developers are like, okay, one thing at a time. Yes. We have like through January already planned on development. And it's all hotelier focused. So we're really excited about where the platform's going to go. Right now, we're trying to keep it as simple as possible, get it to market, have some use cases under our belt, get some feedback from the industry. That's been huge for us. Like we've been picking brains of a lot of people, especially females, because we're female founded. And we really want to bring in this women empowerment. And, you know, we've got some really, really intelligent people in our industry. So they've given us really solid feedback and we're so appreciative.
That's amazing. That's amazing. All I'm saying is congratulations throughout this conversation. But I mean, to have your roadmap solid through January. I love the female founding focus. And you're right. It's an amazing industry to be in with a lot of intelligent people. Let's talk vendor side. I know this is your specialty, right?
It's my baby.
It's your baby. So what's the experience like for me as a vendor if I'm going to partner with Affixify?
I mean, I hope it's amazing. However, to break it down a little bit, I show a demo of the hotelier experience so the partner knows what to expect. We have a simple contracting process, easy peasy. And then we go through what we call validation. So I work with the vendor. What are all your features? If it's a category we already have, I already have a list. You tell me what you do. But then there's this demo component. You know, we want the hotelier to feel confident that the features we're saying these vendors do, they actually do. So I go through a demo and I record everything. I will pause the screen. I'll zoom in. Oh, that field says this. Do I have that as a feature? Like I'm pretty detail oriented, kind of OCD, a little controlling. So all of those really play nicely in being able to get this done right. Exactly. So after the demo, we consider them validated. We announce that they are a vendor. They're free to shop. They're there for the hotelier to be able to choose from. So ongoing, it also takes that partnership interaction. You know, I will stalk again, stalker controlling, fine. So I saw recently that one of our PMS partners introduced a whole new feature, and I contacted them, hey, we got to get that validated in Affixify, right? So it is an ongoing process to make sure everything is up to date, because I don't want anyone missing out on any kind of feature. We send reminders, we send a newsletter, we do some joint articles. We're not in it for paid press. We don't have sponsorships. It's still going with our unbiased. That's our tagline, or whatever you want to call it. So we have recently launched an article about upgrade and upsells in the guest experience. We brought in some of our providers as quotes. We do that kind of thing with our partners too, just to get the word out. It's all about education at this point.
Wow. I am kind of curious. We're into these final 5 minutes or so of the show, and I'm going to spring this on you.
Oh boy.
Are you ready? No, but all these conversations that you're having on both sides here, with the hoteliers, with the vendors, what's coming? Like, what's the vibe that you're picking up on? Like, what are personalization is this really big word that's out there. You mentioned mobile, but where are we headed? Do you have what does the Stephanie radar say?
Yeah, so I'll say one. I'm really intrigued by the Jonas Unify platform, being able to bring all the guest data together. I think that is a problem that the industry has faced for so long with all of these disjointed systems. They don't talk to each other in the same way. The field here is not the same field here, so it doesn't map properly, right? We ran into that years and years ago. And Unify is something that gives you a holistic view of your guest. That is impressive. When it comes to mobile first, I mean, we have revenue management systems where you can handle everything on the fly on your mobile device instead of spending hours on your computer. Oh, you're downstairs and you heard something about your competitors. Oh, well, I'm going to change my rates, right? Like you are being able to have access to your tools while you're doing your job and working the hotel and not sitting here chained to your desk. So I do think there's a lot of components like that that are really getting not necessarily developed, but I'll use the innovation word again. We're building upon ourselves, and I think that's a big deal. We have PMS systems that are bringing a lot more components in it, and that's where maybe consolidation happens. I think there's going to be a lot of options next year.
All right. So we've got unification, mobile first, consolidation. What's the difference between unification and consolidation?
So consolidation would be consolidation of vendors because your platforms offer more and more and more, but Unify is really their branded term for bringing the guest data together. You should check out Unify. They're not, I can easily say they are not in Affixify. They are not, Unify is not a partner of ours, but I'm very intrigued by their product. They launched at High Tech, and it's something that I'm really curious about.
Perfect. Not a partner yet.
True. Jonas is, but not in that way.
Okay. I love it. We've got this final few minutes. I always like to bring it back to the guest. You already talked about female founding and entrepreneurship. Could you share a little bit about what this journey has been like for you? And if there are other women listening in who may be considering following suit, what's some things that's worked really, really well that you said, yes, we did this and this was amazing. You should try this, and something that was like, ooh, this was a hard knock. You avoid that.
I don't think I have any avoid that yet, but call me in 6 months and we'll talk about it. I think for now, the biggest piece is lean on your people. We have received so many introductions to hospitality influencers, to people that have been in the industry for so long, people we didn't know in our past life. And we're so grateful, and it has helped so much. And what I didn't expect is how willing people would be. Everyone is busy. Everyone has massive schedules that we're trying to plan our lives around. We've got kids, we've got spouses, a million things coming, trying to get our attention. So we were always very like, oh, if you have time, oh, I'm sorry, I don't mean to bother you, right? And we heard time and again, it's not a bother. People want to give us feedback. They want to guide us and direct us, and we love it. And we would love to pay that forward in the future. Any young entrepreneur, in my mind, anybody looking to get into business, I think that there's so much to learn, and there's so much value in our own networks. And that's the point. That's why we're all here. We want to support each other. So don't be shy about it, which is catch-22 coming from me, because I'm introverted. I'm super shy. I have a real hard time being like, hi. Like, that's not my personality type, but I've tried to get bolder and I've tried to get myself out there more. And I do think, this is an opportunity for that,
Mhm.
as well as, just being able to become friends with people, focus on the relationship. The rest will unfold itself.
I love it. I love that. Lean on your people, and yeah, you're being bold. You've already done it, so keep being bold.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank
Amazing.
you.
Stephanie, any final things that you'd like to share with our audience before
No,
we
I'm
say
so thankful. Thank you for having me. Thank you to everyone in our network. It's like accepting an Oscar. Thank you so much for all the support, because we really do appreciate it. We know this is difficult. Coming out with a business is really hard. If it wasn't, Jasmine and I talk about it, everybody would do it, right? So I think that there's a factor of like being so appreciative of what other people give you and guide you with. And we are so, so appreciative of that.
I love it. And thank you. I'm very appreciative to be able to speak with you for your energy, for what you're doing in terms
Thank
of
you.
helping to consolidate technology within hotel technology specifically. And I think it's going to be making the lives of many, many people better, not just the people who are in search of the tech, but then as this ripples out, right, all the
Yeah.
way to the guest. So thank you
Yeah.
very, very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Stick around for just a minute as we go off air. But before we do, I would like to remind our viewers that we've got a full week this week. Stephanie was so kind to kick us off here. Tomorrow, we'll be speaking with Shalab, who is co-founder of Assert AI. He's going to be talking about how to make AI usable and actionable. So going beyond the hype of AI and actually implementing solutions that make an everyday impact. So it's going to be a really great conversation. And then on Thursday, we're coming up with Rodrigo Jimenez of SHR. Again, kind of on the tech side, tech-driven hospitality, unlocking, here's that keyword we talked about, guest personalization in the digital era. Both of those will be at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific, as always. So thank you again so much, Stephanie. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you.